Donald Trump is in full panic mode. He just gave an interview to NBC about his disastrous and unlawful war against Iran. It just blew up in his face. This was one of the worst interviews, if not the worst interview I think I may have seen in United States history. Trump was all over the place. He looked weak and utterly pathetic. Let me show you what went down, and then let me bring out the receipts and facts about what's actually happening in the Middle East right now and across the world. So Donald Trump sat with NBC, and here is what he said. He says that he was very surprised that Iran decided to attack other Middle Eastern countries in response to the U.S.-Israeli strike operation, and that in response, the U.S. had to strike the Karg Island on Saturday, which he says, we totally demolished the island. And he said, most of it is gone, but we may have to hit it a few more times, and we may need to do that just for fun. He says we may need to hit the Karg Islands in the northern Persian Gulf for fun. You know, when you say that, you create further rallying calls for the people of Iran around the new Ayatollah Mojtaba. Like, do you realize what you're doing? And what a sick and demented thing to say, like war is fun. We've lost 13 service members, 200 members of our military were injured, many of them seriously injured, and you're out there talking about this as being fun and bombing the Karg Islands as fun. It's absolutely despicable. As part of this interview as well, Donald Trump said that Iran is begging to make a deal with him. They want to make a deal desperately with me, Donald Trump told NBC. But Donald Trump said that I don't want to do a deal yet because the terms just aren't good enough yet for me. So then when he was asked by NBC, so what are those terms that they're offering you and what are you claiming would be better terms? Donald Trump refuses to answer because he's lying about all of this right now. Everything he's lying. And then he talks about how he's working with other countries on a plan to secure the Strait of Hormuz. No, you're not. No other country wants to work with you on this. In fact, a few days back, you told the United Kingdom, we don't want your help at all. Get your ships away. There was a false report, a rumor that I believe the Trump regime started saying that France was going to be sending its battleships to help out in the Strait of Hormuz. And France is like, oh no, absolutely not. By the way, you have leaders of countries like Turkey saying, we're being dragged into this, but we ain't ever going to be involved in this war. And you have many nations saying, keep us the hell out of this. Italy saying, keep us out of this. No one wants to be involved with this in Donald Trump. And here's the thing. Iran and every country knows that this is just a lie. Iran is not offering to make deals with Donald Trump. We've heard from Iranian leadership. They want full reparations for all of the damage that's been caused. And they said that they want American bases out of the Middle East, and that if those two conditions are met, then they will allow ships to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. But Iran believes that it is in a position of strength in negotiations right now. Lots of Middle East nations and other nations are now trying to negotiate directly with Iran. They see the United States as being weak and incapable and led by a demented individual who lies about everything like that. And again, when you say things like that, I don't know, you're trying to appeal to the 20% of your MAGA base that's left. I mean, is that what you're trying to do? Because the rest of the world knows you're just a liar, and it makes you have zero credibility on top of the zero credibility that you, I guess, never had in the first place. But Donald Trump goes on to continue to lie during this interview. I'll share more portions of it with you, where during this interview, when NBC was asking about Donald Trump removing sanctions against Russia and allowing Russia to sell its oil sell its oil to any country at this point, not just India, but Russia can sell its oil that had already been loaded onto ships but had been sanctioned. They can sell it anywhere right now. And this was against the wishes of the entire G7. The 6 other nations said absolutely not. But Donald Trump did it to help Putin. At the same time, Russia is very publicly saying they're helping Iran against the United States. Donald Trump's rushing to help Russia. But Donald Trump then attacks Zelensky in this interview. And Donald Trump says, I'm surprised that Zelensky doesn't want to make a deal. Tell Zelensky to make a deal because Putin's willing to make a deal. Trump added that Zelensky was far more difficult to make a deal with than Vladimir Putin over efforts to end Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And then when Donald Trump was asked about the offer by Zelensky to help the United States with drone interceptors, satellites to stop these Shahid drones from the Iranians, which are just devastating American interests in the Middle East and other interests controlled by Arab nations in the Middle East that are being targeted by these Shahid drones. Donald Trump's response is, quote, "The last person I need help from is Zelensky. I don't want his help at all." This as the United States military has formally requested help from President Zelensky, and Zelensky's offer to help, and Donald Trump saying, we don't want that help, when Zelensky is probably the single most knowledgeable person on the planet right now of how to deal with these drones and ballistic missiles based on Russia's invasion. So Trump is helping Russia attack. I mean, just look at what's happening in plain view. Donald Trump is helping Russia attack the United States, while at the same time, Donald Trump is saying, I don't want the help from Zelensky to stop Russia. What do you think is happening here? In my opinion, it's the most treasonous and traitorous stuff. What I've said there is not my opinion, though. My opinion is that it's the most treasonous and traitorous stuff. The underlying facts that inform my opinion, let me be clear, are undisputed. Donald Trump said that. Here's what Russia's doing. So you decide for yourself if you believe my opinion to be accurate. Also in this interview, Donald Trump said he's, quote, not concerned at all about rising U.S. gas prices ahead of the midterms. He said, yeah, they may be clogged up a little bit, but we will be unclogged very soon. Yep. Unclogged very soon is what Donald Trump says. Also, Donald Trump talking about the new supreme leader of Iran, Mojtaba Khomeini. Donald Trump was asked whether you believe he's still alive, and Trump goes, I don't know if he's even alive. So far, nobody's been able to show him. I'm hearing he's not alive, and if he is, he should do something very smart for his country, and that's surrender. But then he said that the claim that Mojtaba is dead is just a rumor. So Donald Trump is all over the place. How utterly pathetic is that? And here's what we're learning. Let's just talk facts. Let's bring out receipts, right? Israel has informed the United States it's running critically low on ballistic missile interceptors as the conflict with Iran continues. This is what U.S. officials are telling Semaphore and others. A U.S. official said Washington had been aware of Israel's limited interceptor capacity for months, adding, quote, it's something we expected and anticipated. The official stressed that the U.S. military is not facing a similar shortage of interceptors, which, by the way, is a total lie. If we're not running low on interceptors, why do you want to do a supplemental in order to fund more interceptors? And why are you taking away the interceptors, the Patriot systems, the THAAD systems away from South Korea and our Asian allies? Why are you stealing them and moving them over to the Middle East? Iran's been able to target these interceptor launching systems, and the U.S. is facing a munitions crisis right now. And what do you mean we prepared for this? Like, okay, so according to the Trump regime, they were well aware that Iran was going to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. Donald Trump acts surprised, but he was warned by his top generals that they were going to do that. But he he was surprised when they actually did it. And then also the United States knew that Israel and the United States would run low on munitions. By the way, I knew that, right? A month ago, before this war started, if you watch the videos I was making, I knew that. I was talking about that, and I was showing you the data. I was showing you the graphs and the charts. So, look, no offense to me, but if I knew that, what the hell were we doing? Rushing into this war to chase Netanyahu for this unlawful invasion? I mean, and now here are the ramifications. Just look what's happening in northern Israel right here. So Trump continues to say in these statements that 100% of Iran's military is destroyed, but You look what's happening in Tel Aviv. You look what's happening in northern Israel. You look what's happening in central Israel. They are getting bombarded harder than they ever have been hit in the history of Israel right now by a combination of by Iran and Hezbollah. That's what's actually going on right now. The United States Embassy in Baghdad was hit by Iranian drones. And by the way, you were able to see this Iranian drone was able to it captured the video of this Iranian drone going through Camp Victory in Iraq. And you can see how it traveled basically kind of free from anyone intercepting it, found its perfect target, smashed right into it. And we're seeing these sophisticated Iranian Shahed drones that the U.S. can't stop. You see the embassy in Baghdad being hit. It's Giraffe 1X multi-mission radar, which is intended to stop some of these Shaheeds and drones. That was hit by the drones. You had plumes of black smoke rising from the UAE's port of Fujairah, the country's only oil export outside of the Strait of Hormuz. That was struck by Iran. You go through all of these, data points. The ballistic missile impact in Tel Aviv. Kuwait has several drones struck their international airport, right? That's just the facts of what's happening, that all these Arab nations are still getting hit. American interests there are getting hit. And then Donald Trump was making social media posts yesterday like, many countries, especially those who are affected by Iran's attempted closure of the Hormuz Strait, will be sending warships in conjunction with the United States of America to keep the strait open and safe. We've already destroyed 100% of Iran's military capability, but it's easy for them to send a drone or two, drop a mine, or deliver a close-range missile somewhere along or in the waterway. And then an hour or two later, he goes, the United States of America has beaten and completely decimated Iran, both militarily and economically, and in every other way. But the countries of the world that receive oil through the Hormuz Strait must take care of that passage, and we will help a lot. The U.S. will coordinate with those countries so everything goes quickly, smoothly, and well. This should have always been a team effort, and now it will be. No one wants to be on your team, Donald. You spent the entire past year tariffing the entire world and initiating trade wars. You've threatened war on multiple nations, by the way, including Canada and Denmark through the territory of Greenland, which you said you wanted to conquer. You helped Vladimir Putin. No one wants to be your friend. No one wants to fall into this death trap that you are now in right now. And you're begging like a dog, one might say. This war and Trump's alienation of our allies may go down among the greatest foreign policy failures of any president in history. And it already is. And as Phillips O'Brien said, this Trump tweet is a work of art. Needs to be kept for posterity. It turns out that, yes, the U.S. has destroyed 100% of Iran's military capability, yet to combat a military with no capability, he's left pleading with our former allies. He says allies, but I'm going to say former allies. He has regularly insulted to save him in the Gulf. Utterly, utterly pathetic. Now I'll show you what Iran's foreign minister, Araghchi, he was on MSNBC, and here's what he talked about in terms of the Strait of Hormuz. And he says, look, Strait of Hormuz is not closed. It's just closed to the U.S., Israel, and their allies. Here, play this clip.
Is there any sign that Iran is prepared to allow passage of the Straits of Hormuz? Will the Straits of Hormuz remain closed so long as this war continues?
Well, as a matter of fact, the Strait of Hormuz is open. It is only closed to the tankers and ships belong to our enemies, to those who are attacking us and their allies. Others are free to pass. Of course, many of them prefer not, because of their, security concerns. This has nothing to do with us. And at the same time, there are many tankers and ships who are passing through the Strait of Hormuz. And I can say that the strait is not closed, but it is only closed to American, Israeli, ships and tankers, and not to others.
And here's what Iran's Foreign Minister Araghchi had to say about the Karg Island attacks. These are not people who intend to, surrender anytime soon. That seems pretty obvious to me here. Let's play this clip right here.
So the reaction would be clear. Last night, they have attacked Karg Island and Abu Musa Island with, the artillery rocket system, HIMARS as they call it, which is a low-range rockets. And they have done it from the soil of our neighbors. And this is crystal clear that now they are using the territory of our neighbors to attack us by these kind of, rockets. And this is absolutely unacceptable.
Which neighbors, sir?
Well, the last night attacks were tracked by our forces, and now it is clear that they are fired from UAE, from two locations in the UAE, from in Ras Al Khaimah, and from a location very close to the city of Dubai. And it is very, dangerous that they use highly populated areas to launch, rockets against us.
And I showed you before the Iranian-backed militia FPV drones in the Victory base near Baghdad, right? I mean, just you saw that image right there of how it attacked. I mean, horrific. The fact that there's nothing to do to combat that right now, I mean, tells you everything. Here's what I-24 News in Israel is reporting. Frustration is growing in Israel over the fact that a popular uprising against the Ayatollah regime has yet to reemerge. The Iranian public appears hesitant, tells a senior Israeli official to me. Sources say it's no coincidence that every statement by Netanyahu and Defense Minister Katz includes a call for the Iranian people to prepare to act and emphasize their role in determining the regime's fate. I wonder why the Iranian people do not want to be led by puppets of Netanyahu and Trump. I think they're balancing it, and they're saying, we showed up in the streets back in January. We were betrayed. We wanted democracy desperately. You said you were going to be helping us. You screwed us. Then when you invaded Iran, you targeted elementary schools, desalination plants, hospitals. You've massacred civilians. Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth are out there every day talking about raining down death on the Iranians, not making any distinction between the regime and the people. Donald Trump has called the Iranian people nasty and menacing, and he said just horrific things about the people. You have Pete Hegseth saying we're not going to show people any quarters, which is a war crime, and that we're all about lethality, and we're not about like woke rules of engagement, as he blows up elementary schools and engages in these crimes against humanity. And then one of the things that the Ayatollah and the Iranian regime keep pointing out is, look, these are Epstein's people. You want Jeffrey Epstein's people leading this? Really? I mean, Trump is covering up a child sex trafficking. He was Epstein's bud. And part of acting with moral clarity and having people lead who have some moral character is so that you don't have a situation where you have morally and very compromised people. Donald Trump's found liable for sexual assault. It's like people are like, wait, what? We don't want you. We don't want you to tell us who should be running us. That's the fact of what's going on. Now, finally, let me share this with you. By the way, the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad urging all American citizens leave Iraq immediately. So the war has expanded throughout the Middle East as well. The war has basically expanded into throughout the entire world. I'm going to do another video in 2 hours talking about the expansion of the war throughout the entire world. But look, here you have Zelensky speaking with Fareed Zakaria, and look what he says about Russia and their involvement in helping Iran. At the same time, Donald Trump is attacking Zelensky and freeing up Russian oil to be sold to help the Russians not just kill Ukrainians, but kill Americans at a time where Ukraine actually has been leading a successful counteroffensive against Russia. This is a Trump bailout to Putin right now. I mean, have you seen the maps of Zaporizhzhia? Have you seen those maps which show the gains that Ukraine has been making, as well as Ukraine has become a master of its own drones and utilizing drone interceptors? And Russia is unable to deal with that. But Trump is giving Putin the ultimate bailout. This is not a coincidence as well. So yes, to me, this war in Iran is about covering up from the Epstein files. Yes, it is about Trump rushing to follow Netanyahu into this war, as Netanyahu said he was going to do. But to me, I'm giving you my First Amendment opinion protected under the United States Constitution, as is this video. I'll give you that full disclaimer that everything said before, here, and after is First Amendment opinion speech. I'll just say that right now. I think it's a bailout for Russia. Russia was losing this war. Russia is desperate. And who's the main beneficiary of this war right now? Iran, Russia, and China. They're the big winners. Who's the big losers? U.S., the biggest loser right now. Israel's a loser. But the United States is the biggest loser in all of this right now. Anyway, here's the clip of Zelensky. Let's play it.
Do you have intelligence or any information about this report that the Russians are providing Iran with intelligence, specifically providing Iran with intelligence on where American troops are, where American assets are, so that the Iranians can strike and kill Americans?
First of all, Russia gave drones already, these Shaheeds. They are using Iranian licenses, that they built and produced a lot of drones. They gave them. I have 100% facts that that Iranian regime used against American bases and against our Middle East and Middle East neighbors of Iran. They used these drones. We saw intelligence shared with us some details, and it was Russian details in these Iranian drones. This is the first. And the second point is my intelligence told me next that they think that they share information, intelligence with Iranian regime. They help them. And also my intelligence told me that they said, if Europe and the United States can help Ukraine with intelligence in this war, it means that Russia can help Iranian regime. This is their point of view on this. So it's a fact, and you see that it's not a big secret.
There you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thank you so much for watching this video.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to add the MeidasTouch podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts for new updates every single day.